All right. So welcome all. Thanks for joining us. I am Marnie Stockman from Lifecycle Insights. And
I am Art Gross from Breach Secure Now.
So we're excited to chat about the human element today. I think we're both passionate about this and came at it from some different sides. So we have, a couple slides to chat through and some conversations around how we both look at protecting the human element and making preemptive strikes on it with the human element. So I'm gonna Art, pass it over to you to talk about first how you got here.
Good.
How
And
all
then I
these
think
faces got here.
Yeah, lots of faces. I think then we'll open it up for some questions at the end if we have some time, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. So I am Art Gross. I am the CEO of Breach Secure Now. We are a company with a lot of humans. We started with 2 and we're up to almost 90, including our contractors, 70 something with employees. So, we are one of the channel leaders in human security and HIPAA compliance. We started as a HIPAA compliance company way back in 2010 and pivoted to Breach Secure Now and being a channel only that focuses on the human elements of security, cybersecurity. We're white labeled, we're channel only, all the things that our partners wanted from us. And we've just passed 2,200 partners. So we are pretty excited. In fact, today I posted on LinkedIn that 9 years ago today, I made the very first presentation from HIPAA Secure Now. It was a keynote keynote address at GFI Max in Las Vegas in 2013. We had no partners, and now 9 years later, we have 2,200 partners.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. It took us 9 years to be an overnight success. So
that's so the case, right?
That's the way it works.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Well, I am Marnie Stockman, CEO of Lifecycle Insights. This is why we're wearing Hawaiian shirts today, is that you're looking at our leadership team. So there are 4 of us, and we've decided that our leadership meetings can be more fun if we bring Hawaiian shirts. So I always have this Hawaiian shirt hanging right in the office because I forget every single week until right before the call, and I don't have time to run upstairs to grab one. So,
and I just ran and changed. I had a nice polo on, but I'm like, if this is the thing, I don't want to be left out. So
that's right. I do. Like I said, I've got
I have my Breach Secure Now logo on my Hawaiian shirt.
We're all appropriately branded, but we decided to do it luau style.
Exactly.
So we launched 3 years ago at IT Nation 2019, where we had 0 partners, and we're now at 700. So
wow, congratulations.
We're all moving in the right direction there. And we address the human element in a different way, right? So I come from the background of customer success, and we are all about creating raving fans and being proactive. So I think that's the part that for me, when we talk about the human element, I think it is a part, one, the relationship that you have with the clients, which happens in QBR. So we developed a QBR reporting platform, and it's all about being proactive in those conversations. So that's where we have a lot of overlap, in addition to the fact that we have an integration with Breach Secure Now. But I think the way we speak about being proactive, getting ahead of things before they happen, is a lot of kind of the same language and talks that we have together.
And another piece that's very interesting is we both have both companies have MSP backgrounds. I am still running an MSP 22 years after I started in 2000. So I know, when I talk to fellow MSPs, I know their pain. I know, QBRs were always something that I thought was a great opportunity, but, you would, if you weren't prepared for those QBRs, they could actually, backfire on you.
Yeah.
But I think that really makes both companies, something special, because we do understand our partners and what they go through.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I came from, again, I was a high school math teacher. So I always say that's the toughest world of customer success, because I was pitching pre-calculus to 16-year-olds, right? So that's a challenge in and of itself. But then I landed in the ed tech space, and in the world of customer success, we were acquired 4 times. So I had to learn how to scale up customer success. And we did that with quarterly business reviews, although some of them were not quarterly, right, with smaller clients. So we learned to segment clients and do business reviews well. To your point, I've also seen them done terribly, where they were ticket autopsies and you just stood there and got skewered about all of the tickets and drama that happened along the way. So the two developers and I that are co-founders, really worked to create processes in place to be proactive instead of reactive in business reviews. And we were out looking for a problem where I found Alex, who I've known for 20 some years. We play volleyball together, who was an MSP. And you're exactly right. We come from this space, right? When I said to Alex, we come from the world of data reporting and customer success. Is there a problem in the world of managed services? He said, yeah, I spent 8 hours together cobbling together my business review. He said, I'm not sure it's accurate. I'm not sure it's pretty. And I'm not sure it's strategic, which I think is the overlap of where, the human element is super important in business review. So I agree, like coming from understanding the pain of the MSP space is really important to be able to deliver what they need, and deliver we do. So let me click to the next slide. Because you are not your grandfather's breach secure now.
We're not. In fact, we've been in Breach Secure Now has been in existence since 2014. We've evolved as a company. We had a prototype in the beginning, and we were, trying to really pound home the message. You have to care about these humans, these employees, and we've evolved so much. We had one employee back then. You saw all those faces, and there's a lot more. We've not only made the product better, we've made it easier. Our UI is much better, but we've also done a lot of integrations. One with Lifecycle, ConnectWise, with Autotask and Cloud Radio and Gradient, and that's really where we've evolved to, trying to get our important information into the platforms that our partners have asked us for. They're like, this is great information, this is great insight. Can you help us put it into Lifecycle? So it's there when I'm doing my QBRs. So it's there in my, my PSA. And, we've really come a long way. As I mentioned before, we're channel only. We don't have published pricing. And we're white labeled, and we really care about our partners, and we really care about customer success, partner success. And it's funny when you say that, Marnie, I'm like, that's, it's very similar to the way we look at our business and how we work with our partners.
So I laughed when I saw the slide, right, that you have, we're not your grandfather's breach secure now. So I had to, of course, bring in that we're not your grandmother's QBR tool, but I do have a little story to tell on this one. So we're at a 7-figure event. And this is me, my daughter, my cousin in the back, and then my Aunt Bev, who is 88, and she invited us all to dinner. And on LinkedIn today, I posted this picture and said, right, before you read along, what do you think the four of us are talking about at dinner? And the answer was actually asset lifecycle management and cybersecurity. My aunt had one day accidentally FaceTimed me. And she had been a computer science math major back in the day. And so we started talking, and she said, oh, your mom said you've started a company. What do you do? Now, normally, if my aunt had said, what do you do? I would say, oh, software, and go on my merry way. Right. But because she was in IT before, I gave her a little more detail around that. And the next day I got a Yelp review from her that she just emailed me. She didn't actually put it on Yelp, but she said, I wish I had been able to do asset lifecycle management for this. She said, I volunteered at a church. It started at 3 endpoints, ended up with 30. And I was managing asset lifecycle management on Excel spreadsheets. So I like to say we're not your grandmother's asset lifecycle management tool for sure, because she was using a spreadsheet. But the whole notion of cobbling together, right? So in addition to the hardware pieces that are just a small portion of the business review, to be able to have Breach Secure Now in the same place where we have user reporting and the risk assessment, so that you talk about it all at the same time. I think it makes a ton of sense. And we aim to make it easier, as do you, right? So I think the integration and partnership makes a ton of sense. But Amp also asked, like, she wanted to hear feedback on what folks thought when I said my 88-year-old aunt and I had conversations around cybersecurity at dinner, and we did.
All right. So, it's funny that we were talking about the, old fashioned and, not your grandfathers, not your grandmothers, the thing that we realize is, and I hate to say it, but MSPs, myself included, we love technology. We love technology. We look at cybersecurity from a technology view. What is the next generation MDR? What is the best data back, on Facebook, the MSP groups. If I hear what is the best RMM, what are the best PSA, one more time, I think I'll pull my hair out. But, MSPs are focused on technology because they like it. We all like it. But the truth is, when you look at cybersecurity, the weak link is employees, humans. It's people, and it's people making mistakes. And one of the things that I don't like, a lot of times MSPs will say, "Oh, these damn users, they break things on purpose." They really don't. Employees don't come in and, well, there are some, but for the most part, employees don't come in and say, "I just want to open help desk tickets. So I want to cause a data breach." They really don't. But especially in cybersecurity, they are ignorant. I hate, for lack of another word, they don't know. They're trusting. We're trusting people. If you don't understand phishing, social engineering, business email compromise, how you're going to be scammed, you're going to fall for it. And really, so we have to look beyond technology, and we have to look at our clients' employees, at our own employees, and really strengthen them, get them strong so they can, defend themselves and spot these social engineering scams. So I think it's really important, and that's what we focus on. We work with MSPs. The MSP security stack is important, that technology, but we need to be a piece of that from the human aspect, the human security.
So our first hire beyond the 4 co-founders was a junior developer. So he's 23, fresh out of college. And we were having our first all hands call. Admittedly, it was only 5 people, but it was still our all hands call, right?
That's 10 hands if I do my math right.
That's exactly right. So I wanted to send, normally if we weren't a remote company, we would have had that in person. I would have fed them. So I said, all right, I'm going to send him a gift card for dinner so he could bring, snacks to our 4 p.m. call. And I sent the gift card, and I was typing an email saying, just so you know, I'm sending you a gift card, right? I got a chat from him and said, "Hey, Marnie, I'm sure I just wanted to make sure that this was from you. I don't click on these types of links unless I confirm." And I said, "I'm literally over here typing you a note because I want to make sure that you know." And so I said, "Clearly you were the right hire." So I was excited when I saw what we were going to talk about today from your perspective, because I think it's super important. And there was a great peace of mind when I knew a 23-year-old coming in, right, had already been well trained to understand this before we had even started our phishing trainings. So we're talking today about, understanding the human risk and prospecting, hiring, and beyond. And we're going to kind of go through those topics, and then we'll take chats either along the way or questions at the end, as you mentioned.
Sounds good. Let's
dig in.
All right. So one of the things we realized, in order to help our partners sell, or convince clients that they need cybersecurity, they need to train their employees, they need EDRs, MDRs, they need, disaster recovery.
All the 3-letter things, yes.
All the 3-letter, the alphabet, the jumbo alphabet soup. We needed to help them by showing risk. And in Lifecycle, you show risk, you do risk assessments, because that's the best way of communicating to a client. So, historically we had dark web, scans. So we would show that, employees are on the dark web. We could do simulated phishing, but if they're not one of your clients, you couldn't whitelist the emails of where our simulated phishing comes from. If you do a dark web scan and there's no breaches, you're sitting there, you don't have anything to actually show a client of why they need to use your managed services or why you need to implement additional cybersecurity. So we came up with a baseline cybersecurity assessment. We call it BECA. And really, think of it as a 60-question questionnaire. And what we're trying to do is show that there's employees that some of them don't understand, how to handle personal identifiable information. They don't understand phishing. They don't understand work from home, how to secure, their laptops or use good passwords. They don't understand what the dark web is. So by this cybersecurity assessment, you can show that you have 20 employees, 10 of them are weak. They don't understand cybersecurity. They haven't been trained, and they could lead to a data breach. And if they gave up their password, you should have MFA in place. You should have disaster recovery in place in case you're a ransomware victim. So by using BECA, our partners now have a prospecting tool to actually show human risk, which is really important, especially if you wanted to sell, other security products.
So I think a couple things come to mind. First, having been a teacher, I'm all about a baseline assessment, right? Like
Yep.
You can't move the needle for anyone if you don't know where we're starting from.
Yep.
The other piece is it's to assume things about where folks are starting. You're almost always wrong, and we know what assume means, right? So if I walked into my classroom, my math class, thinking everybody was at the same spot, I would be teaching to the 3 kids that were at that spot, right? The people that were up here would be bored out of their mind. The people that were down here would be lost, and no, we couldn't move the needle on anybody. So by taking a baseline, you can say, okay, these 10 know what they're doing, right? So I don't need to spend 30 hours with them, but these guys are big threats. I'm not saying these folks don't need ongoing, support and just refreshers, but they also don't need the same kind of eye on the prize that you need to deal with those at the lower end. The other pieces that I think is really important is at this point, cybersecurity phishing training is not just a checkbox on I was told I have to do this, right? This is mission critical important. And I think a lot of small businesses, if they're, looking at a cybersecurity rider on an insurance policy, may be thinking like, oh, I can just check that box and say I've done it. No, you really need to dive in and make sure folks understand the importance of this, or else someone in your company is going to cause a problem for yourself, right? So I think the maturity of that's really important.
And by using this type of assessment, you could point to Uber, where they had one employee who made a mistake, and it's compromised the whole company. So it really is a way of showing human weakness, which we need to strengthen, but all it takes is one employee, and you could be a major breach victim, and it could impact your company. So our partners are really excited about this tool. Very easy. Send it out, a single URL, send it out to employees. They fill out the questionnaire, and then we have, I'll show the report as well. Actually, I think the report's right here. It is very easy to understand and clear to clients, and our partners are really enjoying using this. This is kind of next generation prospecting tool that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think the ease of use of it makes it much more consumable too, right?
Absolutely.
Well, and we speak baseline assessment in a similar way, but also in a dissimilar way. So I'll kind of give some insights into Lifecycle Insights and how we talk about baseline assessment. One of the things that we recommend is for folks to run a risk assessment with prospects or with existing clients, right, of where they are, and then run it again about how you could move the needle, right? So part of the thing of collecting the baseline information is you're showing the weaknesses. So if you can squint onto the screen, right, those bottom lines say security, and some of the questions under security are specifically about, are you doing cybersecurity phishing training with your partners? So to move the needle from that top one where they're at a 33% to say, or rather the second one, security, they're at a 33%, down to the bottom where we're moving the needle to 100%, right? What are the things we're doing? What are the processes we're putting in place? And when people realize that under the security bucket, training their humans is part of it, right? MSPs tell us all the time that their end users are wanting to see the return on their investment. And when when the return is, well, you didn't get phished, or, you didn't get ransomware this quarter, that starts to weaken over time, right? Like, well, I
Right.
didn't get ransomware the previous quarter either. But to be able to show how you've moved the needle on their security posture, right? So we've strengthened where you were by doing cybersecurity phishing training. That's a good way to show, quite literally, on that right-hand graph, where you can move the needle, right? Well, you were at a 41, and just implementing some best practices, we've moved you to an 81. And cybersecurity phishing training is a critical, component of that. One of the things in Lifecycle Insights, you can run assessments for free for prospects and even existing clients. That's not that's not a paid piece, right? That's just a portion of what we throw in for free, because we feel like doing baseline assessments and comparison assessments move the needle for all businesses, therefore for the MSP's business, and it'll move the needle on our business too, right? To have access to show folks that.
Absolutely. And I think we both look at it the same way. We have to help our MSP partners show risk, show, the need for their services, for additional services. It's hard. SMBs are a tough bunch, right? You have to convince them that they need to focus on, their infrastructure, focus on their employees, focus on security. And by the two of our companies, these tools are we make it available to partners so they can show that risk, and that helps sell, additional services for them.
So I've known about Becca for a while. Tracy and I did something, in January on like what's new in 2022 when you all were talking about this. But I was really excited about the next piece, because I hadn't realized that you've kind of even moved the needle on strengthening your own internal cybersecurity, human security beyond your existing clients. So I think this is a really cool. Tell me about this, because this is new to me. I knew of
right. So what we did was we took basically the same framework, and we created a pre-employment cybersecurity assessment. And what this is used for is clients, whether it's, you can use it yourself as a partner when you're hiring employees, like you hired your first developer, and
you would have passed. I feel like you would have gotten high marks.
Exactly. And then we also have enabled our clients, our SMB clients, our partners' clients, to use this. And what this is the assessment, but it's to a candidate. You're looking to hire that candidate. A lot of times with new employees or candidates, you'll do a personality, you'll do a Myers-Briggs or a DISC assessment. And so what we're trying to push is, why don't you also see their security posture? And it doesn't mean you don't hire them because they have a weaker security. It means as soon as they step in the door, make sure that they're being trained. Exactly what you were saying, Marnie. You want to know who you should teach to, right? So a lot of times we get new employee, someone gets a new employee, you have no idea whether they know anything about cybersecurity, phishing, or whether they're, an expert. By using the pre-employment cybersecurity assessment, you'll get that insight, and it can really help. And it also starts to drive that cybersecurity mindset into the hiring process. We focus on humans. Let's focus on them before they're even an employee. So we're excited about this. Our customers really, are using this a lot. They're seeing value, and it really drives. We'll get into, more of our scoring and all of that. But if you start thinking about employee risk in the hiring process, you're going to be much more focused on your existing employees as well. So we're excited about this new tool.
So I always say that business reviews should be focused on their clients' business outcomes, right? And that if you set up because we hear all of the time, like, people don't want to have a QBR with us. And I'm saying that's because you're talking technical and you're not talking about their business, right? So if you can change the conversation to be about their business, they of course want to engage in that and have that, technology consultants, business consultants. And I think that when you can offer this to their, the MSPs can offer this idea to their end user, you're helping their business be better, right?
Exactly.
Along the way, of course, we're selling cybersecurity phishing training services along the way, but they understand that their business is getting better because of this security conversation, which is different than just saying you should have these tools to protect your business. We're making the business better, preemptive strike. So it's all about
Exactly.
that proactive piece. I
And
think
then when
we have
you,
a screenshot of it, right?
yeah, exactly. So, again, we're looking at how they're doing in each of the sections. And if you see like general cybersecurity knowledge, phishing awareness, password hygiene, handling PII, personally identifiable information, social media, are they going to start yelling at at customers on social media? And then a lot of employers are working from home. Do they know best practices? So, it really gives good insight into where we need to focus on this employee if you wind up hiring them. And then also, this is the same framework that we use for Becca. So, if you were doing prospecting, we'd be able to see this for each of those employees. So, very good insight into the knowledge that employees have, and then what to do, action plans. What should we do with this employee to strengthen them, to make sure that they're not making mistakes? And as you said, you can start to be a consultant then, because it's not only security, but tie this into cyber insurance. You need to train these employees. You need to make sure that they're strengthened. You have a weak employee here. When they start working, let's make sure we enroll them right away. Let's get them, let's get their scores up so we can prove we took somebody. And it's very similar to what you showed on your assessment. When they walked in the door, they were a 70. When, a year later, 6 months later, they now have a very strong posture. And it's very important to be able to show that.
We had a weekly workshop with our partners on Friday, and we were talking about the 5 pieces that all cybersecurity insurance companies were sort of mandating, and one was cybersecurity phishing training, right? So it's sort of a must.
Every single one.
Yeah. I have to, every time I hear PII, so I used to work in the world of ed tech. So you've got minors and you've got their, not just assessment scores, but you've got their medical records as well, oftentimes, right? So I consider that pretty high compliance needs for PII data. And I can remember that there was an RFP presentation where we as the company were getting asked a lot of questions around our security posture, our technology. Had we been trained in cybersecurity phishing? All of these pieces, all of these things, right? We went through all of it, passed all the tests. We became their partner. And then somebody emailed me a spreadsheet of the students' information. We had secure portals where they could upload that information. And I thought, you were the same human that just spent an hour grilling us on our security posture and email me a spreadsheet. That's not okay.
All the time. Happens all the time.
Yeah. So it's interesting for sure. So when we move from that, now that was all for prospecting or for HR hiring, et cetera. And then this is what I consider like what I know of Breach Secure now and have known for a while now.
This is our core. This is part of our BPP, our breach prevention platform. So, what I talked about before is prospecting tools. Once there are a client of yours and, you have either, you're going to either provide security training as part of your managed services, sell it as an add-on. The client decides, yes, we want to get our employees trained. What we do is we give every employee an employee secure score. So think of it as like a FICO credit score. Instead of measuring your credit worthiness, it measures your security, strength or weakness. And it's made up of a lot of different metrics, how they do on their annual training, how they do on their weekly training, their phishing fail rate, acknowledgement of security policies, and a bunch of other things. And what we do is we give everybody that ESS. We also have a leaderboard where we gamify it, and we don't show the person's name, so you can pick screen names and stay somewhat anonymous, but you can compete for that top spot. So if you've ever used a Fitbit or a Peloton, that gamification. And it's funny, we get employees who are furious. My ESS went down 2 points and now I'm third on the list, and I don't think it's fair. And people are really mad. I'm like, but I smile because that means they care, right? Because a lot of times we'll talk to MSPs and they still have the mindset of, I don't need to do this. This is annual training and this doesn't work. And when they find out that we send out weekly micro trainings, 2 to 3 minute videos on a new topic and a quiz, and keep it going, and then put this into the ESS, their eyes like light up. They're like, wow, that is really good. This isn't what I thought. It isn't your grandfather's
Right.
BSN,
Your
right?
grandfather's speech is geared
Yeah,
out. Right?
I thought that was the way training was supposed to be. So we have definitely evolved it, and we believe in continuous education. And it's really, really important to put information in the terms that employees understand, not technical jargon, and really to make them care. And a lot of what we do is we talk about not only business, but personal. Because, if you can get someone to worry about their kids, graduation pictures and their tax returns, they're going to be secure.
Funds.
Exactly. College fund. Exactly. They'll be secure at home and at work. So, but it's all revolves around this ESS, and then we roll it up into the company ESS. So you can see not only individually, you can see as a whole how the whole, the whole company is doing.
So I think we both have our eyes both.
Yeah, it's hard to talk it. I saw something pop up. So
yeah. Do you want to look at the question? Did you have a chance to read it?
So 60 questions, very reasonable amount of us for assessment, but it's a lot of some clients, a large percentage of sort. Yep. We thought about it. I mean, it takes about 20 minutes to do that. Some people can get done with it in 10 minutes. But the thing is, it's very, very similar to a DISC assessment or a Myers-Briggs. You have to ask the right amount of questions to really be able to identify. Because if I ask one question on handling PII, do I really get that insight? Do they really know how to handle, you mentioned emailing PII, copying it to a USB drive. There's things that we want to find out. Yeah. So we have thought about making it a little less questions, 30 questions, but we want to make sure that we are keeping the right amount of questions in these categories where we can get the insights that are meaningful.
So this will throw you maybe, because not everybody pops out with this. So I was trained to write assessments for state assessments and for textbook companies, right? So I was a math major. There's a lot of math behind what you have to do to have an accurate, reliable, and valid assessment, right? So I don't need to go down the nerd path, but you do have to, 4 to 8 questions on any particular standard, objective, whatever, is what it takes to make sure that they're not just guessing. It's hard to guess 4 times in a row that they understand. So in the same way, when you take Myers-Briggs and you're like, didn't they just ask me that? Well, the fact that you recognize that it's the same type of trait is a good sign for that assessment. So but I think
and the key really is to convince the client's management. If they say, I want every employee to take this, take 20 minutes. This is important. We want to see where you are. Those employees take it. Now, if the client management doesn't do that and they don't really care, then we have, instances where employees. So it is leadership, and it's really convincing them, let's get this information so you can see where, your security posture. Otherwise you think about it. Most SMBs, they have 50 employees. They have no idea. Really, they just hope that their salespeople are doing the right thing. They honestly don't know unless they've gone through a formalized training program. This gives them that insight that now is actionable.
Finger crossing is not a policy.
No. And Jennifer, yes, it is a great sales tool. And that's why we made it for our partners as a sales tool. So I'm glad that you think that.
And I have to agree, because the next comment
You're
is
right. The salespeople are generally not doing it. That's why I mentioned it. That's exactly true.
The salespeople are the ones that are pulling up shadow IT as well and not putting MFA on everything. So
Exactly.
Very much so. Let me click to the next one, because you also have the prevention.
Okay. And so part of that BPP, and as I mentioned, this is our dashboard, and you can see the employee has a 714. The leaderboard is over on the bottom here. Here in the right-hand corner, this is things that you can do to improve your ESS. And this is your progress in the middle. We do dark web monitoring. So we, tell employees, if they've been involved in breaches and what breaches and what PII has been breached. A lot of times people think of dark web monitoring, oh, my password's out there.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot more than passwords. It could be addresses. It could be your job function. It could be, your contacts. There's so much information. So we make that available. As I mentioned, we do ongoing training, weekly trainings and a quiz, short, engaging videos. Simulated phishing. We have something called auto phish, where you can set a client to, be phished for every month, every 2 weeks, but for the year or next 2 years. So you can set it and forget it and just be able to take those reports and in the QBRs, talk through that. We do a monthly security newsletter, and Marnie, you'll appreciate this. It's very similar to Highlights magazine. If you remember the Highlights, we try to make it colorful.
There's one of these things is not like the other.
Exactly, because as a teacher, the people learn differently. Some are very visual. They want to watch a video. Others want to read. They want to dig in. They want to play games. So that's why we do the monthly security newsletter. We also have a security risk assessment, NIST-based security risk assessment, written security policies. Catchfish is really interesting. It's an add-in to Outlook that allows an employee, if they think it's a phishing email, to click on on Catchfish, and we analyze the email. We show dangerous pieces, that maybe the sending email address is different than the links, or there's threatening language, or business email compromise language. But if it's one of our phishing simulations and they click on Catchfish, we reward them. You caught one of our simulated, you get points back on your ESS. And then this whole thing is what we call an employee vulnerability assessment. We look at the employees and we, just like we all know about, technical vulnerability assessments. This is looking at humans and employees and being able to show weakness, which you're going to show how good that is in the QBR. And the last thing is we have a cybersecurity news feed. So by doing it, it kind of looks like a social feed, very similar to Facebook or LinkedIn. But now we can start posting not only videos and newsletters, but articles and infographics. And we can really engage employees in a lot of different types of information. And that is really picking up and, really well received from I think we're up to 500,000 users now. So, we're getting a lot of feedback that this news feed is great, that it's extending the service.
Well, it extends the education of it, right? And I remember, so I was working in ed tech when Baltimore County Public Schools had the huge ransomware attack, and then immediately managed service providers were able to sell into school systems, right, that needed some co-managed IT around security. So when you have a news feed that's addressing things like, sadly, the Uber piece will just further support the conversation that we already need. The LAUSD pieces, it's interesting that newsfeed really will show, okay, every vertical is being impacted in different ways. You don't know, so you need to protect yourself.
And again, we're talking not only business, but these are steps that you can take for, protect your home network, your computers.
Absolutely.
And it gives us that ability to have those conversations and post that information. So we take this information, and I think I'll lead it right into, I believe the next slide is that, how we now integrate with your platform, because think about these metrics, we're pushing that into your platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to make sure I hadn't been idle for too long. I think we're good. If I get kicked out,
I start talking and I don't stop talking. So
I'm the same way, passionate about it.
Yep.
So, at the very beginning, we kind of joked that, it's not your grandfather's phishing tool. It's not your grandmother's QBR platform. So this is what your grandmother's QBR platform might have done had there been one, right? It was really Excel spreadsheets where we were tracking hardware and where things are at end of life, right? So where are the operating systems expired? But to your point, it's way more than just about the hardware. Now it is also about the user piece. So we do a lot of reporting around the users as well. And it's interesting, when we first launched 3 years ago, people said, oh, this is a nice report. And now folks are this is probably the very first thing they're leading with, because of all of the ransomware attacks, et cetera, that they have some additional talking points. So I'm going to pull this up so you can see, since we have Breach Secure Now in, what that looks like if you have Breach Secure Now users in the platform. So we have API integrations with, a lot of PSAs. So Manage, Autotask, Halo, Synchro, and the wildcard IT Glue. We also integrate with Microsoft 365. So we're getting a good view onto the licenses that your clients have, and heaven forbid, if they haven't logged in 30 days and don't have MFA disabled, we'll tell you that too. And we sister that with the Breach Secure Now data. So now I'm able to look at these clients and say, okay, wait, why is, it's very obvious if I look to see why the second contact down is red for Breach Secure Now. Okay, it's the office, pooled email, fair. We'll let that ride. To your point, let's take a look at who has the highest or the lowest ESS score, right? That what's their secure score and why, and what's their phishing fail rate, right? What's their average score, et cetera. We also have a standalone report for Breach Secure Now that dives into all of that information you were talking about at the top across the whole company, right? So to be able to track this across your partner and say, okay, your company as a whole has an average phishing fail rate of 5.73%, et cetera. But to be able to look and let's just drill into the latest employee secure score and see who's red. This is demo data, so let's be clear. These are not folks who have breach secured now for any period of time, right? This is just imaginary data, but you can really.
But the truth is there are clients who ignore it. There are employees that will ignore it, and you will see red. And that's the ones you want to talk about. These green, right in on that screen. Yeah, that a high five. That's great. But let's really focus on the ones that look. There's no score. There's no annual training score. There's no they have a high phishing fail rate. These are the people we need to worry about, and these are the people you better have MFA. You better have all of the other security stack, because these are going to cause the data breach next.
Well, and that's exactly where I was going to go. Is this?
Sorry.
No, it's perfect. It's like audience plan. This is the start of that conversation, but people have been keeping it very disconnected, right? In the same way that in break fix, every single problem looks unique. They're not always tying it into the bigger story. So I think to be able to say from here, another one of our reports is the secure score, which right at the top, we can fix a lot of things if we get MFA on everything, right? So the notion that MFA will help. So we've got some folks that are red. We can protect them in some ways with the tools that we use, right? But we also need to train them. So it's a multifaceted way to approach this. And that's really what we drive for in the assessment piece. So we have lots of assessment options, but I'm going to pull up the one that we kind of talked about on the screenshot of, let me collapse hardware and take a look at security. When you look at security, of course, cybersecurity, phishing training, email training, et cetera, is in the list, right? So if I have said in terms of social engineering and phishing that we're at risk, it shows up as part of a broader security posture, right? So it's not like I'm just picking on the humans. We've got this whole security posture we're aiming for. And then to be able to say, well, I want to show where you are now. So I'm gonna grab the assessment that I did. And then when we layer in cybersecurity along with, phishing training, et cetera, we can move the needle on all of these pieces. And that improves your score, right? This is a category where we can absolutely move the needle if we add these layers in. Everybody talks about the layers of security, and the human element is a big one. It's an interesting, we've always been able to weight different questions in our platform, and not many people take us up on it. But I've recently had folks say that they wanted to add a multiple to MFA and cybersecurity phishing training. So if they didn't have those two elements, that they would be able to really show your score is really impacted, right? We can really move the needle if we fix that piece. And it's not just telling them you need to fix this red, right? But if you go in and say, all right, I'm going to look at social engineering phishing, and I'm going to create a recommendation. We're going to solve this problem, right? So the recommendation is human security, right? And maybe it's a recurring cost. I'm just going to throw in a labor cost and a material cost, just to save it quickly. But when I do that, we're pushing forward a whole forecast for you onto, okay, in Q3, we're prioritizing this, right? We've said this is a concern. Do you want to address it now or in a month? But it's not a matter of if we're going to address it. This is something we need to do to solve that red and turn it green, right? So how are we going to make that magic happen? So we see a lot of folks really having a lot of conversations in business reviews around the human element, because one, people understand the people in their business better than they understand the technology in their business.
Yep.
Right? So to be able to speak to, why Alan has clicked on the phishing email 3 times and what we should do about it is sometimes easier to understand than SOC.
That's a great point. I mean, employees make mistakes.
Yeah.
Business owners know, employees come to work late, they don't show up, they've, said something wrong to a colleague or to a customer. So when you start talking about employees making mistakes on phishing email, it's not like someone's going to say, oh no, that could never happen. I mean, a lot of times they don't want to take the time and they don't think it's that important, but they understand that their employees do make mistakes. And, it's a great way of tying that back to security.
Well, and the other piece is to have this as a regular part of a business review, right, is also less punitive than Art. I'm calling you today because Tracy clicked the button.
Yeah.
And right, if you're only ever calling them to say somebody got phished today, right, that doesn't feel good. But to say we're always looking at this posture, and it's non-judgmental, but it is very much informative on what they need to do to move the needle. In education, we ripped the Band-Aid off a long time ago. And if you're red and need help on your fractions, guess what? You're going to get help on your fractions, right? We've pulled away the ability, like there's no stigma attached to it. We are just going to say this is where you need help. So let's get you the help.
And that's part of the culture of security. You don't want to, beat employees. You don't want to criticize. You want to help them. You want to strengthen them. You want to strengthen your infrastructure. So it's really interesting getting clients to think about that. It's like, let's not worry about someone who's in the red. Let's figure out what we should do about them being in the red and how we get them. And someone who was strong may be going through some personal issues, and the next thing we know, they're not taking training, and then their ESS went down. What's going on? So it's a great way of having those conversations about employees.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be respectful of folks' time, so I'm going to pull the point back up. If you have questions for us, please absolutely put them in the chat. But Art, I want you to share what your packages are, because you have a lot of different options for folks, and I'd love to.
So to become a Breach Secure Now partner, it's $109 a month. First month is free. We're month to month. You can cancel anytime, no long-term contracts. That gives you the access to Becca. That gives you access to your own BPP. What I showed you with the employee vulnerability assessment and ESS, you get that for your own company, so you understand how it works. And also you can strengthen your own employees, especially if you're, need cyber insurance. You need to be training your employees as well as your clients need to do that. But we also have a ton of marketing. As I said, we understand our partners struggle to convince clients. And we know we have to give you tools, we have to give you marketing, we have to give you support in order to be able to help your clients or your prospects understand the need. So that package is $109 a month, month to month. And then we also, which is really exciting, is our partner community feed. We use the news feed for our partners. So we, think about having 2,000 partners on the news feed, asking for feature requests, talking about wins and talking about how, things that they're facing. So we really believe our whole roadmap is based on employee feedback. And we built this whole news feed just to get employee, not employee feedback, but partner feedback. And it's exciting. It's exciting when partners are sharing, oh, my clients love this last training and all of that. And of course, people say that, we don't like your training. Everyone, it's funny, if you ask 2,000 MSPs about something, it's like artwork, right? You look at it, some people love it, some people hate it,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's really interesting. It's really interesting, but I think our partners really enjoy the interaction, and we're really, I'm very active on it. Our CTO, our VP of product, we want to hear what our partners have to say.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that's definitely something we have in common. You also
And then
have,
from there,
yeah.
we have our BPP. That's what I've been talking about. That's a per user, not per user, I'm sorry, per customer upgrade. So you upgrade, and if you have 10 employees, that's $25 a month. We do tiers 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 50. Again, these are not published pricing. This is, only the MSPs know the pricing. We make it very affordable that you can bundle it in with your managed services. You can sell it as a standalone. As I mentioned, we have a risk assessment. Some of our partners do training, and they bundle training. They charge extra for risk assessment, for policy creation. They charge extra for the catch fish added. You're paying one price. You can figure out how you want to charge it.
Yeah.
In addition, we started as a HIPAA compliance company, so we're focused very heavily on HIPAA compliance, and then also our HIPAA BPP. So that is a mix. The HIPAA BPP is our premier healthcare product, mixes cybersecurity, HIPAA training, HIPAA risk assessments, all the things that a client needs for HIPAA compliance.
Perfect.
And again, this is also month to month, no long-term contracts. You can cancel anytime.
Can you put a link to your website in the chat?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I'll do the same. So like Art, it's month to month, first month's free, up to 5 active clients is $75 a month. I'm going to put a link to our website in the chat, because we kind of have a slider on the page where you can get pricing. So it's based on number of active customers, but we aim to help you really deliver the quarterly business review and address all of the risk, right? The human element and the technical element along the way in a strategic way. So we hear a lot of folks saying business reviews take too long to prep. As a matter of fact, that user list I showed somebody, well, we'll just match it up with, Microsoft 365, who's in Breach Secure now and who's in your PSA. And they said, I've been merging spreadsheets for 6 years now. And I said, well, you can stop. I don't know what you'll do with all of that extra time, but I suspect you can think of something. So, same thing with asset lifecycle management, user reporting, but we're aiming to help you drive the strategic conversation, because I think it's really about the business outcome. And I think so many of the tools you talked about today are focused on the end user business outcome, right? And protecting it, being proactive about it, that it makes sense to have those conversations in a QBR.
Exactly. So should we open up for any other questions?
Yeah. Any other questions in the chat? I think we've answered. I've scrolled through and we've answered the ones that are in there.
Oh, I'd like to hear the feedback from James about Catchfish. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got a great name as well. I mean,
awesome. Well, one of the things that I wanted to say is, there's a lot of times, you have your company, but when you partner with someone and it actually makes both companies better, and I think we've accomplished that. I didn't realize my light makes me look like sunburnt on this side. So I guess I have the shirt. Yeah,
so
I have the shirt. I've been hanging out on the beach, but we really value our partnership, and I know partners that are both mutual partners of both companies. They're using the integration. We're getting a lot of good feedback on both sides. So I'm glad that we had this opportunity to educate and to talk about our services. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.
Yes, I would say the same. I'm putting my email in the chat if anybody has questions for me. I agreed. I think it's truly the case of better together. It just makes sense when folks can just deliver easy information without having to go to multiple systems to have a conversation with their partners. It makes life easier for everybody. So we super appreciate the conversation and the partnership. Are there plans for
Are
a
there-
weekly org-wide catch fish leaderboard email?
Interesting. We haven't looked at catchfish as part of the leaderboard, but that's an interesting feedback. Thank you. I'll have to take.
I got one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we do. We have the
Ornament.
catch bucket. We actually have a bucket
Okay.
of how many fish that employee has caught,
I
but we
love
don't
that.
include that in the leaderboard. That's actually really interesting. Thank you.
That is a fun one. Yeah, I would agree. I do. There's certainly demographics of clients and employees that would appreciate that. Yeah. Awesome.
Excellent.
Well,
All right.
thank
I think
you
we're
so
just
much.
on the top of the hour, right?
Absolutely. I will ship out the recording to everybody. And yeah, thanks so much.
All right. Take care, everyone.